There are so many ways of practice. Some of them, they are very good at calming the mind, like mindfulness of breathing and some others. Others are good for energizing the mind. For some people it's loving kindness, where you feel a sense of connection or even joy. Then other practices are good for developing wisdom, understanding. There's also one category that makes use of reflections, of thinking, but not thinking about going shopping and what to eat next, but thinking about the Dhamma or about things relevant to our own lives in the light of the Dhamma. So we call that reflections. And there's a very famous set of reflections in the suttas, in Anguttara Nikaya Book of 10. One among them is particularly interesting, which I thought doing together today with all of you in our little meditation session coming up now, which is there is reflection about things that are dear to us, or a reminder for us to reflect frequently, the Buddha says, that all that is mine, beloved and pleasing, will become otherwise, will become separated from me at some point. So what does that mean? How does that relate to my own life? Well, we'll soon find out. So for that purpose, let us get into our meditation posture. I can sit upright and relaxed. Can check whether there's an intention in the body. And if yes, relax that part. Breathing naturally. Letting go of the past and the future. There's a sense of ease. For the sake of the upcoming practice, we keep the eyes closed, which makes it a bit easier to introspect. The eyes cannot help anything with that. And let us come back to this short little passage which I mentioned earlier. All that is mine, beloved, or dear, and pleasing, will become separated from me, will become otherwise, it will change. What does that mean? What are the things, objects, or people that are dear, beloved, and pleasing? Maybe we start with objects. What kind of things do I not want to miss in my life? What kind of objects? Without which I would find it quite difficult. It can be something simple, like a fan or an aircon. Or maybe a car. How about my house or apartment? If I would have to separate from those, how would that feel? let's say, in the case of a fire, maybe a forest fire or wildfire breaking out in the neighborhood, and the wind blows in the direction of the road where I live. And I know within half an hour, 45 minutes, my house will burn down. I need to move out. What kind of things would you pack? Would you take along? Put them into the car and drive away into safety. Obviously, you can't take everything. What would I choose? What would I leave behind? Or to make it more interesting, maybe you don't have a car around. You only have a bag, whatever you can carry. What would you put into your bag? That's all you can secure from the fire. Your laptop? Maybe. Maybe a credit card? Passport? IC? How about photo albums that contain some memories of people, of occasions early in our life, people who might not even be around anymore? How would they feel if they would have to leave that behind? There's no backups. What are the kind of things the mind clings to the most? It could be items of high value, precious, expensive things. Or it might be items of sentimental value. A gift from a special person. Or an object that reminds me of him or her. But I will have to leave things behind. How would it feel if you cannot take all these things along? Sooner or later, we will have to separate from them anyway. Even if no fire breaks out, things can get lost, or they disintegrate over time. Even pictures, the color fades. Or, latest at the time of death, we'll have to separate from them anyway. We cannot take the photo album along to the next world. Maybe it's not just about material things. How about memories? memories also change. They fade. Both the pleasant and the unpleasant. We forget about them. And as we age, the rate of forgetting becomes even quicker. Or we may get at some point a neurodegenerative disease leading to cognitive decline. Cannot remember things anymore. Not just memory fades as we age, also the sense experiences. The sense of taste is not as intense anymore as it used to be. When you're 15 or 25, it's very clear, very sharp. As we age, approaching 60, 70, 80, or beyond, our sense buds are not so sensitive anymore. That's why elderly people can eat anything. They're not very picky anymore. But also we can't get the same degree of pleasure out of it anymore. How would that feel? The same for seeing. Vision declines. Even a beautiful landscape all looks a bit blurry. Hearing. Cannot hear the nuances of music anymore. Some frequencies are not available anymore to our ears. We get less pleasure out of it. How would that be? Especially if these are the only kinds of pleasure that I have access to. Well-being through eating, drinking, hearing or seeing beautiful things. If those things decline, because the sense faculties decline, I will lose out on many of those enjoyable experiences. But besides objects, besides experiences, how about people? Are there certain neighbors or friends? How will it be when they move away? Where we don't have anymore the opportunity to spend time together. A friend or a neighbor. Or maybe even a family member or a very close friend. What if that person moves away? Or for whatever reason chooses not to associate with us anymore? how would I feel? Relationships can end. And even if they don't end straight away, they change over time. The nature of the relationship changes. The more I cling to an earlier version of that person or of our relationship with each other, the more I will suffer when it changes. The less I cling, the less I suffer. And latest, at the time of death, we need to separate, even from the dearest friend, closest family members, either because they move on and pass away, or because we pass away. Conditioned things are impermanent. Subject to change. Subject to cessation. Once we have identified certain objects, other aspects of our life that we hold on to, that we cling to, that are dear to us, pleasing, we can mentally prepare ourselves. At some time I will have to separate myself from that. It's not even a question. The only question is when, not if. When will it be? Maybe sooner, maybe later. But it will happen towards everything that is dear to us. Knowing in advance, maybe I can let go a little bit. Not of the person, not of the object, but of my craving and clinging towards them. My attitude needs to change. From craving and trying to conserve to acceptance, going with the flow. Not fighting against impermanence. Acknowledging and accepting. Letting go of craving and clinging. The objects, the people are still around, even if we let go of our attachments. But we will have a more mature relationship towards them, with them. And instead of fear of losing something of value, there's ease, preparedness, acceptance. Or even gratitude for the time we do have in the presence of these dear people, of these dear objects, of those life situations that are pleasing to us. How wonderful. For now. But also knowing things will change, will become otherwise, will become separated from me. So I may already in advance start with letting go of my craving and clinging. And establish my heart in peace, stability, and ease. I offer that for your reflection today. Well, what did you pack? That's my question. What did you pack into your imaginary car or into your bag or suitcase in case you would have to leave the house? What would you take along? I wonder what is in your suitcase now. The TV? Anyone packed his TV? PlayStation? No, nobody. So then what did you put? I'm curious. Merits. Oh, okay. Yeah, you bring your good karma with you. That's actually your true property, you can say. Your merits, the good karma you have done throughout life. That's a good answer. I like that. Nice. What else did you pack? Any examples? You've been thinking earlier already. You couldn't think of anything that you will put into your bag? Usually we have the opposite problem. The bag is too small. How can I put everything into it that I want to take along? Would you take any photo albums along? Or pictures? No? Yeah. Documents? Important documents? Yeah. Credit card? I think if that one thing can solve many other problems. But sometimes there are objects that remind us of certain people or certain situations in life, isn't it? Having to let go of them is sometimes more difficult than the value of the item itself. So something that has a sentimental value that reminds you maybe of your deceased mother or father or a grandparents or a close friend, or somebody, or a gift from them. Sometimes we have some clinging to those. No, I don't want to take this with me. Of course, at some time we have to be separated from those things. So it's a useful practice to, from time to time, ask ourselves, what are the things? Who are the people where we have the most clinging, where we have the most attachment? And maybe it's not the objects, but it could be certain people, right? If you think, okay, if I can never see that person again, or maybe if that person leaves me or moves away or doesn't want to see me anymore, could be for whatever reason, how would that feel? Or like this at the time of our death, we have to separate. So these are very useful, deep reflections. And it's not meant to make us sad or melancholic. It's meant to show us what is important in our life, what relevant in our life, to get our priorities right. Because if these are the things or people that are important, I better treat them well as long as they're still here. And then the second thing, of course, we also know things are impermanent. Nothing can last. So I better get ready, emotionally, mentally, to let go. Not pushing things away, but to let go of my attachment. People will still be around, the objects are still here, but I don't need to cling to them. Like this cup. I don't have to hold on to it and grasp it and my cup. I can just use it, be with it, enjoy its presence, but I don't need to cling or attach to it. So that would be a mature relationship, even for other things, including relationships with other people. Things change anyway. We cannot conserve it. So we might as well go with the flow, adjust. So it's a very useful reflection that the Buddha says should be undertaken frequently. Okay, let's keep it at that.